Good morning. So, you know what? Bernard left us up here. So, if you're going to trust me, I'm going to take you on a ride for a moment down here. But then I do promise I will leave you up here, okay? And I'm going to stress to you guys we have the prayer bowl back there. Everybody is coming in with things. And you could drop a prayer request if you want someone to pray with you in person, drop it, or it's on the app. You can make a request. We really care because there's a lot going on. We acknowledge that. Because I'm going to open with the Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me. The Lord has anointed me to proclaim the good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted and to proclaim freedom for the captives and to release from darkness prisoners. It's from the book of Isaiah. We're here this weekend because the whistleblower alarm has sounded. Our world, our country, our children have never been in a more vulnerable and more volatile state. And we must take a stand because what you're going to learn this weekend is that our children are being derailed of their destinies, and they don't even know it. They don't know how quickly they are being deceived. And we are here to speak up. It's time to speak up for the young and the vulnerable and the victims. You've heard me talk about sex trafficking. Some of you did not make it last night, so I'm going to recap a wee bit for you. But with sex trafficking, what I really was driving home is after a decade of running safe housing and dealing with textbook over 5,000 young ladies that were, here's the stats. You've heard me say it, I'm going to say it before just to help you understand. Sexually abused, 3, 4, 5 years old, kept a secret at the hands of someone that should have loved them. Bernard spoke to that. Many of us can speak to that. It affects 1 out of 3 little girls. It affects 1 out of 5 little boys. And when abuse and love is mixed, we grow up confused. And then they run to seek solace in what they think is a rescuer and a hero, and more often than not, within 48 hours, 80% of runaways run into the arms of a predator, who then will sell them for sex 15 to 40 times a day, typically for 7 to 8 years until they die. What I spoke to last night is I did that for a decade. We worked with over 5,000 girls on the streets and the housing, trying to get them to stay, to believe they were worth more. Please come, beautiful home. Oh no, I'm good. Or they come, and after a few weeks, I'm healed enough. I could go save him, because they don't know that wasn't love. So what we realize is this is a symptom. This trafficking issue that everybody is championing, and I've championed it, but I want to get ahead of it. So what you're going to learn about this weekend is how we have been strategically positioned to get ahead of it, what we have learned, what has risen up in me. Because right now, there are root level issues that if we hit it and we change everything, we can get ahead of the abuse and the exploitation and the addiction that's leading us to these places. Because right now in our world, we have 50 million people that are in slavery. That's more than we've ever had before. And half of that, so 25 million, are women and children in sex slavery. So of that 50 million, when I started a decade ago, 1% were ever found. Now, do you know what percent are found? 0.5. You know, we cannot be focused on over here in the restoration. We care and we always will, but 0.5%. So here's what you need to know, and here's what's underneath it. And I'm going to go dark for a moment, so just bear with me. I'll bring you back up. We've talked about the 1 in 3 girls. We've talked about the 1 in 5 boys. 90% of little kids that carry a secret of sexual abuse, 90% are at the hands of someone they know. When I started in this a decade ago, the average age a little girl posted a naked selfie, 12. Today, a decade later, the average age little girl posts a naked selfie, 7 or 8 years old. Do you know what that means? They're not even chemically, physiologically, biologically even capable of knowing what they're doing. But there is such intense grooming happening to lure them into this pathway, this on-ramp. What we know is that parents are spending an average face-to-face conversation with their children 1 minute a day. And children are spending on social media 6 to 8 hours a day. So, in fact, FBI says the most dangerous place for your child, your grandchild to be, is alone in their bedroom with a smartphone. Because there are over 750,000 predators at any given time looking for a child. They're looking to see who doesn't have as many followers, who might be vulnerable. They know exactly what to say. They put a picture of a little 14-year-old boy and they say, "Wow, you're pretty. Lean in. Did anyone tell you?" And like down the rabbit hole they go. We are going to look at the issue of what is grooming the buyers. We know what's grooming the little girls because they're getting confused between porn, abuse, love, all these different things. Boys and girls are getting exposed to pornography by the age of 5 or 6, 7 or 8 years old, addictions forming. And I need you to know it's not what we grew up on, because I don't know about you, but I had Playboys all over the place. My dad, my brother, every friend's bathroom, the dad had Playboy on a toilet. So we would look at the airbrush photos. Now, what our kids are looking at is so twisted and vile and abusive, and they're thinking that this is sex, and they're thinking that this is what they should be doing. Actually, what they're watching, they're actually just replicating, because that's how children learn. So peer-on-peer abuse is up 600%. And do you know the increase of child pornography? Sex trafficking is the fastest growing crime. Pornography is the fastest growing industry. It's increased over 15,000% in the last 15 years. So I'm going to wrap up with a couple stories because I want you to understand the gravity, and I want you to understand, because I'm not going to be sitting here in 10 years talking about sex trafficking. We need to open another house. If we don't get ahead of this, we just might as well go home. We cannot be okay with our children being deceived and literally fast-tracked. Remember I Love Lucy, and when they had the chocolates on the conveyor belt and they speeded it up? That's our kids. They have no clue what they're being led to. And we have to have a voice, and we have to speak up. So I'm going to leave you with 2 little stories as I transition to the good stuff, but here are 2. There's a little girl, and she has her smartphone. And she says, since I was 9 or 10, have been shown this or that from a boy saying, "Can we do this? Can you do this to me? Can we try this together?" She goes, "I have been used for sex more ways than I can count, but I am sweet 16 and I'm still waiting for my first kiss." I want you to get the lack of intimacy that they're growing up in. Another little girl, 11 years old, she was violently raped in a high school parking lot by a 17-year-old boy. Somebody saw it, found out, reported it. When they were interviewing her, do you know what she said? "It wasn't rape, he likes me." And what they found out is not only had she, but he, been watching abusive porn online since they were 5 or 6. They don't even know it's not normal. They don't know. So, to top it off, you're going to learn why we're looking at things the way we are, because 92% of ER doctors, they'll stitch up a little kid and give them right back to a predator. So, you get why I walk around crying and why I'm so happy you all are here, because now we're going to switch to the hope, because the grim facts are out. And believe me, I could go on for hours because it's crazy. But I have been given holy discontent. There is something that shifted in me over the last decade, and when this all has been going down, now I have this holy discontent that we knew we had to get ahead of it. And that's what the Foundation United is. Prevention is key. We will always care about the 0.5% that is found, and every year we give money to different organizations to help with housing and make a difference, but we are looking at it with systemic solutions. And we are collaborating with like-minded leaders who you're going to meet many of them this weekend. Innovative, scalable solutions to this ever-evolving, complicated issue. Our passion is to work together, a world united. So what you need to know is that everything begins with a secret. Columbia University tells us that the average person has 13 secrets at any given time, 5 of which they've never spoken out loud to a single person. Those usually have to do with sexual deviance. And what you also need to know is that what is underneath the secrets, the abuse that's being kept, the addiction that they're so full of shame that they can't speak about it, leads to the symptoms of trafficking, but also suicide, depression, anxiety, addiction. We are focused on the root issues, and we are going to look at it and speak to it that way. And so what you guys are going to learn this weekend is that we're going to take the lead. Evil has a way better marketing team, right? It is leading everything. It's leading the mountains, media, movies, you name it. Kids are following it. Parents are sucked in. No one even knows. But we are going to take over the lead. We're going to change the narrative. And we are doing it with a very systemic, top-down approach. And that's what you're going to learn about. My Harvard MBA is going to be proud that the way we're looking at it, from micro to macro, all the way through. So you're going to hear this weekend about 3 pillars. One is empowering the front lines. That is in your own backyard. Foster care, law enforcement, education, healthcare. And then we're going to have a section about awakening the faith communities, because the stats there are the same as anywhere else. And then you're going to hear about how we're taking it global. And you're going to learn about the Interparliamentary Task Force, and you're going to meet some of our global leaders, and you're going to learn how every country is facing the exact same issues. So we are breaking the cycle. We're ending everything. Because there's all these on-ramps to lose their identity and destiny, and we're not standing for it anymore. There was a story about a survivor that we worked with, that her father had abused her. He was a highly regarded businessman. And he would drag her to church every Sunday. They sat in the front row. Everybody in town loved him. He ended up going on to have 300 victims in addition to her and her brother. And she was working for me when he was dying. He had actually gone to jail, and he was in the hospital dying. And she said, "What should I do?" I said, "Does he hold a piece of you at all anymore? Because you don't want that. You want to just release it. He can't have any power over you. Do you need to walk into forgiveness? Go in there. Maybe just ask him why. He's 80. He can't hurt you anymore." So she went in there, and you know what her dad said? He actually was honest, and he looked at her and he said, "When I was 13 years old, a group of older boys showed me a magazine, pornography, and they said, 'Do you like this?' And he said, 'I do.' And they said, 'Good, let's go upstairs, we'll show you more.' He was violently gang raped, and he had nowhere to talk about it. He didn't have an off-ramp, and that's how we create predators. He said, 'I'll never be a victim again.' Something flipped. We have to off-ramp every story and get ahead of it for every man, woman, and child. We are uniquely positioned, you're going to learn, because I want it to end with you feeling like I feel, that together we are anointed to proclaim the good news, to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedoms to the captives, to release prisoners from darkness. And I pray that each of you after this weekend will feel that you are anointed too. Thank you.